Anthony is coming,
Okay.
just so you know.
I'll call the, I can't believe it, June Park Board meeting to order. Minutes went out in your packs.
Want me to do a roll call?
Oh, yeah, we got to do the roll call, I'm sorry.
Okay. Pat Castello.
I'm here. That's questionable.
Mike Kennedy.
Here.
Don Buchholz.
Here.
Karen Nessett. Here. Karen Stankovic. And Pam Brokaw. Here. Anthony should be arriving, so we'll just let him.
And you're part of the Berkmos
Yes.
thing. So now, minutes were in the packet that went out. Anybody see anything any changes or corrections or omissions to it? If not, is there a move to?
Move to approve.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. First item on the agenda, A, is what was in the packet on Berkmos Park.
Yep, so we have a few people in attendance to discuss the burial mounds up in Berkmos Park and kind of just that general area. They're here to kind of present their study that they did and introduce themselves and then kind of go through and summarize what they found and then answer any questions that you might have to improve that area. So go ahead and come up to the podium.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me okay, I guess?
Yes.
Well, thanks for having us again. It's about Berkmos Park, and the reason I set out on this path is because I was giving a tour of the park a private tour to the adjoining neighbors, and they expressed concern about some improvements needing to be done, and that there wasn't more accurate information readily available so that people can understand what the mounds are, why the park is there, what should be done, what shouldn't be done, why are some things, in need of repair, and what's the best course of action to providing proper care. So I came before the board a couple of years ago, I don't know if it was 2 or 3, but proposed trying to put together a plan for some improvements, which at that time everybody was in favor of. We talked about, some different landscaping possibilities and some interpretation. And so I've been working with Kelly and John to kind of gather the best information so that we can have a proper and thoughtful path forward. And just quickly reaching out and doing minimal research through the Wisconsin Historical Society and other parks with mounds, and communicating with people like Kelly. It became apparent that there are guidelines out there, and we can look to other parks to see what has already been done, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. No, you're fine, hi. So we put together the situation analysis for all of you to review. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at it, but otherwise I'll have John give a summary, but first I thought it would be really helpful for everybody to have Kelly just talk a little bit about what those procedures are, because this is actually what she does for a career. So she has the experience, the expertise, the background. It's very appropriate, and it's a great gift that she's offering to donate her time to volunteer to help us in the community with this endeavor. So I'll hand it over to her.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Kelly Wolf. I work as an archaeologist and a historian professionally, but I also live just up the road in North Hudson. So I started working with Layla at the Historical Society in town, and we started talking about this park, and I got very interested in helping out with some of these improvements that she's been talking about. Because there are burial mounds in the park, there is some sensitivity that we need to be mindful of if we do anything really in the park. The state has a cemetery law which covers Native American cemetery sites, like in Berkmouse Park. It covers modern cemeteries, any human remains. It protects and lays out kind of a guideline of what to follow and what you can and can't do. And then on top of that, the Wisconsin Historical Society has some additional guidelines very specific to cemeteries like Berkmouse Park with the Native American burial mounds in them. So in order to do improvements to the park, we would want to talk with the Historical Society. We would want to bring in tribal partners to kind of bring in the full picture. You know, the people that are buried there have ancestors that are living today, and so we just want to bring everybody in to the conversation to kind of help us move forward. I think our packet has some information about the history of this mound site. We've done some preliminary research on it. We haven't dived in super deep yet, but it is recorded with the state, and it's given, it's a Smithsonian trinomial number, which I can nerd out on that later, but all sites in the state of Wisconsin that are known are recorded at the state level, and whatever information we know about them is recorded there. What do you want to talk about next? Yeah. So we've been looking at the park and kind of the current conditions of the park. And so John has put together an analysis of that, which should be in your packets. So I'll hand it over to John.
I'm John Steenis. I'm involved in this because I'm Native American. So that's my interest in this project. It says in here I'm a financial advisor. I am, but really I'm involved in this because I'm Native American. So if you want, we could go through this line by line. I'm just kidding. I don't think anybody really wants to do that.
Get all the salient points.
Let me just give you a summary of what's in here. So we worked on this together. And really, the point of this is we want to preserve the burial mounds and preserve the park in a way that's in accordance with Wisconsin's statutes. So you see a lot of that through this whole situation analysis. So if you go to like page 3, line by line, we thought about, okay, how can we improve the visitor experience? And really, it's about preserving this as a sacred burial property, and how can we best do that? So a lot of this is how can we separate just park benches versus the burial mounds? How can we also preserve that? How can we move things around so that it's distinguished more? What are the burial mounds, and what is more there for just an experience? Quite honestly, I've been up there. In fact, you probably saw towards the end of this, I've been up there where there are cars driving out on the dirt. I've been up there where there are people sitting out on the mounds. Pretty sure I was up there when I saw a drug deal going down. There's some stuff that happens up there. So the intent of all this was how could we address these areas and address these concerns and do this in a way that preserves and enhances it. So I really don't want to go through this line by line, but what would be most efficient and what would be most helpful for everyone in the group? Do you want some time to go through it line by line, and then, I don't really know what the process is. Would you call us back and then we go through questions, or?
Not necessarily. I think as I read through the situation analysis, I mean, the biggest thing that jumped out at me is just trying to get the low-hanging fruit. Some of the stuff, whether it's, moving benches or picnic tables or garbage cans away from, the area. Those are things that don't cost a lot of money, other than basically staff time. The other things that, would need to be purchase, whether it's chains or signage, that type of stuff. I mean, those are discussions that we have to have on where we would take that out of the park budget, because we really wasn't accounted for, and it's pretty lean to begin with. So as you kind of look through the report, just kind of keep that in mind. If there are things that we really want to try to tackle in the future, obviously those would have to be budgeted for in a general operating budget in the future. So does anybody really have any questions?
I would say take this in review, table it, and use it as kind of a helping guide of what needs to be addressed, and then, maybe take a look at that, where cordoning that whole thing off with a 6-foot fence. I've seen it in Kentucky at burial sites. Gives it prominence, it gives it the distinguished separation, and works out for everyone. And they've done that over Frankfort, Kentucky, where Daniel Boone's buried, and it worked out very well, and it gives it a prominence and keeps it all very separate. And you can even do a placard to notating what this is about, and that would do an awful lot to help out in the situation.
Can we address two things real quick? So one, in terms of costs or expenses or labor.
Yeah.
Leela has the idea of maybe trying to put together a friends group that would fund some of that. We need to coordinate that through this group. I don't know if we could, but that's something that we don't necessarily expect the park board to come up with all the money or all the labor or all of that. I mean, we have some ideas for how we can help with that.
Cool, yeah.
And then in terms of fences, I want Leela to address some of that. There's some real concerns with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Considerations.
So any new modifications to the park, we would need to coordinate with the tribes directly and with the Historical Society based on the law. And they would need to provide input. Some tribal groups don't want fences and they don't want signs, and then some do. And so we would just need to bring everybody together and have a conversation and say, here's some of our ideas. What do you think? Maybe they have better ideas, and how they want their ancestors to be respected and honored and protected. So that's kind of a really important piece to all of this too. This is a great starting point to identify some of the problems in the park, and then we can kind of help move that forward.
I just have a question. Since there is issues with fencing, if we just repaired the chain link fences, the posts are still there, would that be a problem? Yeah, I mean,
Shouldn't be.
that's historically been
Shouldn't be a
there.
problem.
Right.
So that shouldn't be a problem,
It
right?
shouldn't be a problem. The only issue is if you wanted to repair the actual footing. If you're just replacing chain link and you're not actually digging down and doing more work that way, that shouldn't be any issue. One direction you could take in the future is putting together a management plan for the park that kind of helps guide all of these ideas and management tasks. So if the fence needs to be repaired, for example, do we need to call somebody? Do we need to notify a tribe or notify the state that we're going to do this work or not? And so it kind of goes from small to big. Are we going to reroute the road? That's big. So, who do we call? How do we do that? So that might be a good way forward too. That wouldn't necessarily be super cost heavy at the start.
And there are some other non-invasive solutions to limiting foot traffic where it's not wanted, with native plantings that are, like knee height or more, because then it's just not an enjoyable experience.
Prickly,
and
yeah, should be
who
real
wants to
good.
go walking through that? Nobody wants to really roam through the weeds.
Yeah.
But is that also something that would need to go through some sort of approval process?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's all laid out in that state statute.
But we wanted to provide you with at least a current situation analysis
Yeah.
before going forward, so that we can get input from all of you and, determine what is the best path forward for, everybody. everybody, the community, the city, the visitors, the Native Americans who have claim to those mounds as a sacred site. And then, you know, we can certainly help with providing a path forward, determining a path forward, and coming up with realistic, feasible, and appropriate solutions. But at the very least, we wanted to inform all of you of what definitely should and should not be done.
True. No, that's very helpful, and what perked my ears was the Friends group. If there are individuals that are willing to take the time to make the area look better, specifically the mounds, that's what it needs. And I know we've tried that in the past. How many times, Deb?
Well,
Few.
quite a few times.
Yeah, and they're falling apart. And it's just a natural, you know, path of a volunteer group. You know, they're really in it for the first few years, and then it kind of just fades off. But that would help. I know we've gone up there. We have tried to burn them the last couple of springs, and it's challenged just because there's not a lot of coverage on the mounds. And so when we do try to burn them, it's challenging. But to have just a specific group that maintains those mounds, it would be really appreciated. I think it would take the burden off our staff, because quite honestly, the reason why they kind of look the way they do is just because we just don't have the time, right? We don't have the manpower to take care of them. Yeah. And so that's kind of one of those things where if we wanted to look a certain way, that would be the best way to move forward, in my opinion.
Well, and one benefit of a Friends group is that it opens an opportunity for fundraising
Yeah.
Yep.
and for volunteer help. And I understand volunteer resources can be hit and miss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I wanted to at least throw that out there.
Oh, I think it's a great idea.
I think
It's a
so.
wonderful idea.
Yeah.
I think we'd be very open to
Yeah.
having something like that put together, for sure.
Speaking for myself, not for the group, but I would think having you people kind of take the lead on that coordinative effort.
Well, I think all of it can be part of a long-term plan.
Yes.
But it just, and I felt bad because I wasn't able to come back sooner, but I wanted to give this the proper time and consideration that it deserves and needs.
Yeah.
And not just bring something too soon. I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever thought of doing a celebration on an annual basis of what, and educationally as well, to educate the community and the young people? Because there's people that go up there, they have no idea what it is. And I've temporarily lived in Hudson for 54 years, and I have probably addressed what that is to young people and older people, picnicking on them, exactly what it is. And with that, they've been very polite about it, and they didn't know. So anytime I've ever seen one there or up there, I don't walk by. I go up and educate. I talk with them. I let them know. And that's part of the process, and maybe an annual event would help that.
Oh, sure, yeah, and we've thought a bit too about putting together just like a one-page kind of promotional, educational flyer and going to like, what's the?
Oh, Riverfest.
Riverfest. That would be an appropriate
Very much so.
celebration and setting to share this information and try to recruit people to be part of the effort.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too, for the park board to keep in the back of their mind is later on the agenda, or for future agendas, the outdoor rec plan needs to be updated or reviewed again at the end of 2025. So when it comes to that time and we're reviewing Burkmost Park, I mean, some of these discussions that were brought up or ideas that were brought up could be incorporated into that outdoor rec plan for future planning efforts, or, you know, future park board members to understand what improvements would need to be happen if, for say, we ever do decide to replace the road, or, you know, that type of thing. So keep that in the back of your mind.
And writing these management plans is something I have done professionally. I'm actually helping another city in Minnesota do this right now. They have a similar park in town it's got a gazebo, it's got some walking paths, and then there's also mounds around it. So I can share examples if you'd like to see them or.
Well, anything like that helps.
Yeah,
The more people see, the better their ideas get.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, I like your idea of maybe take this need list and kind of divide it into two, things that maybe we can knock down
Quickly.
efficiently.
Yeah.
You know, there shouldn't be a picnic table right there. Even in our description of the park, it's not meant to be soccer practice or let's go throw the volleyball around, and knock those things out. And then, like you said, kind of add them in there. The Friends group, I think, sounds great because I think over the years, we've all had people say, they don't always have the ability to bump into Don and say, what is this park all about? So to me, the education part of that, I think, might keep a lot of people off the mounds or respectful to that. And with the Friends group, I think that only adds. I think we would want to, without sounding like we're yielding power here, it is still a Hudson Park. So the Friends group would have to work in conjunction with what we're gonna do, or our Parks Department does, and our Public Works does. So, I think that's a good, almost adopt a park, if you will, and this has a very special meaning rather than just lakefront or something, so. Yeah, thanks so much for your time putting this together.
Yeah,
Really,
thank you.
Thank you a lot.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so if everybody is feeling okay about what we've presented so far and about how we're expressing to move forward, then we'll continue working on it.
Yes.
Yes.
I think you're hearing that from the group.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for coming.
Yes. Any other questions for them or anything before we move on? Hearing none. Review of the 2025 summer concerts that we got coming up.
Yeah, it's starting on Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, big thank you to Deb
Yeah.
for putting this together. Without her, we would have no music in the park, so thank you, Deb. No, it's such a great thing to have in Hudson. Obviously, people come from all over the area, the metro, come have dinner, downtown, shop, listen to some music. So I included in the packet kind of the series, kind of give you an idea of what's on the docket. It runs all the way from, early June through middle of August. So, if you want to come on down and listen to some music, that's the schedule. But I think this year our total budget was 12,000. Comes from room tax dollars. That's how we pay the bands. They don't come here and play for free. They do come here, Deb does a good job on negotiating and to get the schedule filled out, but and tries to get a diverse, eclectic music taste. So there's something hopefully there for everyone throughout the summer. But no shortage of people wanting to come to play in Hudson. We get phone calls all the time about bands locally and throughout the state that want to come here and play. It's good for them, good exposure for them. And so, that's just kind of give you an update that's starting here soon. Anything else to add, Deb? Good? Any questions?
Looks
Good
good.
lineup this year. I like the variety.
Yeah.
For old business, we have discussion with possible action on the Meadowlark Lane Park Plan.
Yep, so I put together the plan, kind of the 30,000 foot overview, which we will incorporate if it's passed tonight into the outdoor rec plan. And Karen had a good question before the meeting. So this is kind of a precursor to the more detailed park schematic that I'll be putting together. So this is basically just taking all the information that we discussed and approved at the last meeting based on the survey results, putting it into that format, which I'll include in the outdoor rec plan. But now, if it's approved, then I'll take all that information that's in this and I'll put together a more detailed schematic layout. Where's the playground? Where are we going to put park benches? Where's there going to be a sidewalk, trail, so on and so forth? And I'll bring that forward to a future meeting for further review. And then once you kind of look it over and say, yep, that looks good, then I'll move forward and go ahead and get some pricing and quotes and start to develop it. So
You need a motion?
I do need a motion.
I'll move so.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Thank you.
Timing-wise, we could actually get that going before winter.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I'm shooting to bring something back for the next meeting, and then I can start ordering some equipment maybe later on this fall. We'll see. A lot on the plate, but yeah, well,
That's pretty aggressive.
yeah. Okay, so then, moving on to project updates, just some updates for the board, just kind of keep in the back of their mind. So Minnesota Orchestra is coming here on June 30th. It is the Tuesday before Booster Days.
Monday, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's Monday. June 30th is a Monday?
I think so.
Okay.
You better look. but
Yeah,
I
let's
think
double
it's
check.
Monday.
Yeah, it is a Monday, you're right.
Yes.
Okay, so the reason why I have it on here is obviously Minnesota Orchestra has a huge following. We'll get, anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 people down in downtown Hudson. And we've had to do some coordination with the Hudson Boosters because they're starting to set up that week.
Oh, sure.
And so it kind of has created a little bit of a headache, but we've kind of worked around it. This was the only date that orchestra was available to come to town, and so we're going to make it work. And just prepared that there's a lot going to be going on that week. So nothing that Park Board needs to vote on or anything like that, just more of an informational item. Item B, any questions on that? No? Item B is the White Camp Park splash pad. So a quick update on that. As I was going through the permitting process with the state, on the plan set, the city was responsible for getting the water and electrical services to the manifold. That was missed by myself. And so at the last council meeting, I brought forward, or 2 council meetings ago, brought forward a couple of quotes from companies to run the water and electrical from the pavilion out to the pad, which was approved. And so it was given to Steiner Plumbing and Heating out of River Falls. They've been out to the site, they've taken some measurements, they got their items on order, to say the least. And once they're in, they'll put it in, and then I'll reach out to the company to say, hey, we're ready on our end, come on in and install it. So the only caveat with that is I know we were planning on putting it on the north side of that small shelter, but apparently last night received a phone call from dispatch. The little shelter was falling over. So Public Works staff went out there last night, and yeah, lo and behold, the cedar uprights that are holding that structure in place, the wind or whatever came through kind of tipped it over, and they're cracking. So if you run up there or go past it on the way home, we got it all coned off and taped off, and it's got a mean lean to it. And I'm having the building inspector go up there and take a peek at it and kind of let us know if it's salvageable or what he recommends. But that structure might have to come down, to be honest with you.
Can they replace the 4 posts?
Save the roofs.
We did snap photos. I have submitted it to the insurance company, our insurance company, to see if we can place a claim on it. We could.
Because if the roof and all that structure
The roof is
fine,
good, so that's so it was donated by the Girl Scouts back in 2006. The roof is good. The only thing, so we're kind of talking about today, by the time you hire a company to come and pick the roof off, because you got to get at least 5 feet of clearance to get the post out of the ground, and then set it back.
why can't you cut, dig, recrip, and put thicker posts just next to it?
You'd have to do a surface mount on the existing concrete pad. But it's just one of those things where at what point, because, I mean, to bring some equipment in and do that, how much is that going to cost versus how much is for a 20-year-old shelter?
Okay.
It's like, if it's going to cost us $10,000 to do that, well, is it really worth it at that? It's sad to say, I mean, I hate to say that, but, because if we can,
Take the insurance claim, put it towards new structure.
that's kind of what my thought is, right? So that's kind of what I'm dealing with. Like I said, I got the building inspector going out there tomorrow. I'll take a peek at it, kind of give me his thoughts on it, but I'm kind of leaning towards just removing it, claiming it, and then building some new shelters around the new splash pad.
Yeah, and then you can move it.
And I can move it.
Yep, that sounds good.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
And I think Mike could give you a real clear shot as to what you'd have to do
Yeah.
to make it feasible even.
Yeah, because we talked about, well, do we just kind of push it back up and band it? And it's like, no, because if something does end up happening and someone gets hurt, then
liability's
we don't
too
want to go through that. So, but yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't know, Deb, if we can find a contact for the Girl Scouts, just kind of let them know or give, I don't know, but yeah, it's too bad. Yeah.
See if the Girl Scouts have a warranty on their work.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, it's all made of cedar too. I mean, like you said, it's,
I bet the wind
yeah,
got under there.
It's
and-
terrible.
yeah. So yeah, any questions on that at all?
Did that get pushed back? It was supposed to open sooner, right? Is
So
that what
the-
happened, that it got pushed back? Because I thought it was supposed to open.
So the original intent was to have it open if everything went well, construction, late August, for a
Okay, it
couple
was
weeks.
always gonna
It was
be-
always gonna be late,
Okay.
yeah. And, yeah, it's to the point now where it's like,
Spring.
yeah, more than likely, we'll get it installed, we'll check everything, but then it'll probably be like, mid-September.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately. And then the last thing that I have on the updates is Bella Rose, the new playground out by the new Quick Trip,
Yeah.
and then the Williams Park where the new restroom. So we're renting a hydro seeder. It's coming here on Thursday to hydro seed those areas and get some green grass growing. So that's kind of the last step in the process for those two sites to get them established. I do have some benches and some garbage cans ordered for the Bella Rose Playground, so blue to match the existing structures, and once those come in, we'll install them, so. And then the last thing, that's not on the agenda, that just an update, is just kind of a big thank you to those involved with removing the boat from the Beer Can Island.
Yeah.
All of you are aware of the situation out there, and a couple local community members stepped up, and I know some other communities donated some funds to bring in Wayne Prokrosh out of, I believe he's out of Red Wing? Red Wing, to come up and take that eyesore off. So big kudos to Jarvis family and everyone who donated to that. So get out of there in time for the summer season and everybody to enjoy the island. So thank you.
And there's now legislation passed by the state and ordinance by the city to put some teeth in enforcement, so that can't happen again. Or if it does, there's
Consequences.
consequences for it, yes.
So basically, there was no consequences for the person that did that?
Yeah, there were fines that were racked up or tallied against them. I don't know
If that's gonna.
Still out there, but I don't, squeezing blood from a turnip, it sounds like.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's all I have for project updates.
Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Able to speak.